People who live in a tropical paradise that folks often daydream about. What are some things about living in this climate year-round that aren't so dreamy? Hawaii resident here. 1. How hard it is just to survive because of how incredibly expensive it is to live here. It's super common for kids to never leave home. Get married and just move your spouse in. Maybe convert the garage or shed into an apartment. Most people I know that do live on their own do so with roommates. The only people I know with their own place, work so much they never have time for anything else. And even though the cost of living is so much higher than most of the mainland, jobs pay less than their mainland counterparts. And COVID has not helped. The economy is currently in free fall. Tourism is down to 20% of what it was and the people that are coming are spending less. Projects say 50 to 60% of restaurants, bars and small retail shops will close permanently by the time it's over. A lot of people I know that grew up here plan to leave eventually. I'm here by choice, but staying forever is not a viable option. I'm surviving just fine, but saving anything for the future just isn't happening unless I just happen to luck into 6 figures a year. And island life isn't for everyone. You are stuck on an island that is 30 miles across, 0.2000 miles from anywhere. Going anywhere that isn't on your island is a major endeavor. And that's hard on a lot of people. I'm fine with it. In 4 years I've spent 3 days off island. And that was just on a different island. Is it worth it? Maybe. Depends on the person. If you move to Hawaii without a backup plan, there is a good chance you end up homeless, so there's that. Oh yay. And Hawaii has some of the worst homeless and drug addiction problems in the country. I think we've finally reached a steadily decreasing population. I don't even want to make new friends because almost everyone ends up leaving. I feel so bad saying it, but I'm closest with friends who are divorced and have kids, because they're definitely not leaving. Although one friend of ours just moved with her ex and kids to Oregon because of the cost of living. But rarely do they want to move with the ex. It's only a tropical paradise half the year. The other half is unbearably hot, humid, and rainy. Yeah, I just want a winter home. If I had bought a ton of GME a week ago, that might have been a possibility. It's hot. I am not talking about your garden variety kind of hot. I am talking about a searing, humid miasma of what it must feel like inside the mouth of a dog. It's awful. I live in California, where it regularly gets hotter than 110 F, 43 C. It sucks even worse when you live inland in a urban area, so the real temperature is actually 15 degrees hotter. Ex-Hawaiian, the Big Island here. Windward, rainy, side fun. LFA's, little fire ants. These are not the fire ants you see in the mainland. The air-invasive little goldfuckers that nest in trees and fall out and land on you and begin their incredible painful bites. Will also partially blind your pets by biting them in the eyes. Rats. You live in a jungle, you got rats. Even if you can keep them out of your house, they love to gnaw on your car's electrical wiring. And pee and shit on everything. Rat lungworm disease. You don't want to know. Termites. Swarms a couple times a year. Will emerge in your house at night, drop their wings, and become horny little worms. False, blister bugs. Insanely attracted to light, will find a way in your house at night and fly up to the ceiling lighting fixtures, then clumsily drop onto you at random. Don't swat them. That's when the blister part happens. Coqui frogs. Chirp, coqui. All night. Cute in their native Puerto Rico. Deafening as an invasive species in a tropical jungle, where upwards of 10,000 per acre will screech for sex partners. You have to turn your TV's volume up at night. You can hear them driving down the highway if your windows are down. Dengue fever. Usually not fatal. Jungle rot. Any exposed wood will not withstand 150 inches per year of rain and humidity. Water seal is ineffective. Paint constantly or replace your decked stairs every few years. Plus, the usual: cockroaches, mosquitoes, sea fever, dengue, humidity, and hurricanes. All that said, we would still be happily living there if we lived on the leeward, dry, side, which has very few of these issues. But we couldn't really afford it there. Houses start at around $700,000. When you look beneath the surface, you'll see everything is built cheap and flimsy because it doesn't have to withstand winter weather. People don't have their shit together for the same reasons too. No sense of self-sufficiency because you can be outside indefinitely and nothing bad will happen to you. My friend just moved back from the Virgin Islands. Everything has to be imported, so goods are expensive. The infrastructure is poor. For wealthy people it's fine, but some real issues for everyone else. Some areas don't have a high school and you have to commute for hours to a different island. There can be some hostility between locals, non-locals. And then there's hurricane season. Florida man. I used to live in a picturesque Caribbean island when I was a bit younger. It had all you can dream for: beautiful white sand beaches, turquoise blue water, water cleaner, fresher and purer than you could ask for. Water brimming with sea life, majestic turtles and stingrays would grace your casual swim. Seafood was extremely cheap and fresher than anything most people have ever had. It had perfect air quality and the weather was amazing. However, growing up there didn't provide you with a drive to want to do anything in life. The island was owned the UK, so it always had external money protecting the economy. Only after leaving did I realize how coconed people were from reality and the harshness of life. You become so lazy and relaxed that it took me a long while to get adjusted to city life. The island had one school and it was pretty shitty. Teachers didn't really care and students were eventually gonna become a bartender or a fisherman or some pretty basic occupation, so why worry about algebra class? TLDR. Living on that island was dreamy, but you develop an extremely lazy and relaxed outlook on life. Nothing is ever worth aspiring for because life is pretty good now. I understand what you're saying, but do you realize that you seem to be saying that the bad thing about your life was that it was so comfortable that you didn't fit in with the world most people are forced to live in, because that world we constructed for ourselves is far more complex and requires dedication to survive in. It feels like you're thinking a lazy, comfortable life is a bad thing. I think it's the other way around. The omnipresent mold that looves humidity. Not from there, but I have a friend that lived a huge part of her life in the Seychelles and she told me that a friend of her died from a shark attack. So, even though she loves sharks, she told me that it is highly irresponsible for surfers to go past the coral reef since sharks are really common and dangerous. On land, you find large wasps and cockroaches and a lot of mosquitoes. I lived on a tourist hotspot island in the Indian Ocean for several years. Here are the things you don't see until you live there: bugs. Like huge poisonous ones that appear in your bedsheets and shoes. Careful hanging washing out because a 15 cm centipede is lurking in the basket. Very high cost of living as few options available. Even getting a new phone can be such a mere just because options are limited and prices are sickening. Hidden poverty: detour from the main routes and you'll see poverty you never imagined outside of a UNICEF ad. You have to deal with tourists in your day-to-day life. Their dangerous driving. Their arrogance while you try to go about your daily life. Like trying to barter over the price of milk at the goddamn supermarket. Racism. I get that this exists everywhere, but many of these small tourist islands were built off slave labor and that culture hasn't been addressed like it has in many Western countries. It often is still seen as totally acceptable to treat certain ethnicities like shit, underpay them and deliberately give employment opportunities only to people of your own ethnicity. As someone from a developed Western country, it can be horrifyingly blatant to witness, but it's their way of life and it's not my place to ride in on my high horse and tell them that's not how things should be done anymore. Healthcare. There's something uncomfortable about being led to the front of the queue for treatment because you have white skin and the hospitals are terrified of a Westerner making claims of any mistreatment or poor practice. I also noticed doctors obscenely overprescribed antibiotics and pain relief, presumably out of fear of being accused of giving subpar treatment edited to ad where I lived. The cost of living is insanely high due to limited space, a lot of homes being bought as vacation homes, and everything needing to be imported. Traffic's fkn awful because it's a small island with a moderate population but tons of tourists. The pandemic has done wonderful things for traffic but decimated our economy. Salt air from the ocean makes any metal rust incredibly quickly, so if you scratch your car you have to get it fixed right away. The chain on our garage door opener also has to be replaced more often than usual. And, yeah, lots of bugs. ETA, homelessness. So many homeless. Partially because of cost of living and partially because people will literally choose to fly here from the mainland and live on the streets because it's easier and marginally safer to be homeless here than elsewhere. I'm from Malaysia, and during the pandemic, all shopping centers closed. What followed when they reopened something like 2 months later was horrific. EV wherein mold when they reopened after 2 months, mold was discovered all over cinema seats and mold creeping over luxury leather goods. I love Malaysia a lot, but as far as weather goes, I'm quite glad I don't have to deal with the humidity anymore. I also don't have to deal with ants in my pantry as much. Funnily enough, I only have mold during the winter. I'm rarely home, so the windows are almost always closed and God forbid I don't open them after taking a steamy shower. So yeah, imagine you just finished taking a hot shower and now you have to open all windows and freeze your balls, or the mold will come back. Mosquitoes. When fall/winter roll around here in Norway, I always enjoy the mass death of insects. No more bees, mosquitoes or other insects. Except from some birds, everything is dead outside, and there are no insects to annoy me out and/or inside. This, never mind the other huge bugs. Ever heard of a palmetto bug? Yeah, it's pretty much a giant cockroach. Power going out all the time despite the $1,000 plus you pay for utilities in a home only 2 people live in. Your appliances burning out and needing to be replaced due to the frequent power surges. The groceries and gas being extremely expensive. Just the general high cost of living. Jesus, for $1,000 per mo, I'd be looking into getting some sort of off-grid system. That's insane.